quarantine.
Oh boy.
Tony's back over there. My wife is back over there. But,
you know what about that quarantine? I didn't take it seriously in Hawaii, but I heard that somebody in Hawaii got arrested for violating it. Like they followed by home.
Oh, they're getting arrested.
Jeez. But then I heard they're releasing everybody because they're not like violent crimes, so they just send them. They send them home anyway.
Tony called me yesterday, and they extended it to May the 31st. And they don't want anybody. They opened up the parks, but people are taking advantage of it. So they, you know how Hawaiians are. They'll make a party. 50, 60 people. So
yeah,
that's what they don't want. Yeah.
I'll go. I don't care. I'll violate it.
Yeah. Well, Tony went last week, and she's still under. She flew in there about 5 days ago, so she's still got about 9 more days to go.
Jeez. Oh.
Dude, I can't take you seriously right now.
You can't leave the house. I'm not kidding. That's why I didn't go.
Hey, okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a disclaimer here. This is being recorded, okay, and it's gonna be whether it's Monday or Tuesday, it's gonna be live on the website and live on YouTube. It's gonna be live on the CBA site and then live on YouTube. So whatever we talk about here, I mean, I don't care if you throw out an F-bomb. I really don't, but it's gonna, just know that that's what's being represented. So that's all.
Perfect.
Is there any kids are signing up to this?
Slowly. Easton Andrews just got on there. Slowly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow everybody to talk just because I do like dialogue.
Sure.
And, but, it's something where, like, I want the information obviously to come from you guys mostly. Feedback from coaches. I would love for John, like when we get started here, John, for you to kind of, because I'm understanding it a whole lot more, but like Tim and Carlos and how we can apply this type of technology, right, from Blast into what we're trying to provide from a web-based training standpoint for the players. I would like for you to kind of, you've explained it to me several times, but to maybe re-explain it to them, but also to put it into like layman terms for the players so they understand like how to best use the product and use the sensor,
Yeah.
So if that's okay. And we're still about a minute or two out. Like people are starting to come in right now. So we'll kind of wait on that a little bit.
Are you going to scroll through the workbook as I talk, or how
basically, so everybody, this has been sent to everybody to download so they can scroll along if they want to, right? I'm going to scroll along just to kind of stay with it so we can be organized. You have it, right? So you can see like how I just put the charts. So I kind of want to explain like what these charts mean to the, because I can explain it too, but it's way better coming from you. And so you can talk on like how like these reports, like why they're important and how they can be applicable to web-based training and what we can do as coaches to kind of explain to these guys. Like we don't necessarily have to. I mean, obviously it's much better if you're in front of them, but that's not realistic right now. But we can look at these charts and we can help players make physical adjustments with their swing, right? And figure out like what drills they can use at home or what they can do on their own so that they can, better improve the results for the charts for the next time. We're right at 4 o'clock. I'd like to, give it still another couple minutes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that have logged in. We're getting there.
Hey, Victor.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Vic.
Yeah.
Vic's in Florida. Remember, John, we spoke about him yesterday. He runs the
Vic, what's up? You called me.
Yeah, how you doing? I left you a voice message a few minutes, maybe about an hour ago.
Yeah. What's up?
Not much. Just trying to stay busy somehow.
I hear you.
Well, that's why this is like the perfect thing to do right now because, I mean, I miss all of you. And, like I've told these guys, like, I'm just, like, I don't even understand Zoom. Like, this is so, like like everything I know about computers or technology is completely obsolete compared to what's being offered right now. You know?
Hey man, I've been teaching classes through Zoom, and it's it's a pain in the butt sometimes.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. But it's
Hey.
401. You know, we have about nine guys in right now, so they'll start trickling in a little bit more. And then
Jim, what is that in the background? Every time you move, there's a shadow.
Oh, it's my wife's Mini.
He throws a car behind you.
You're really not at the field. I didn't
I'm
realize.
not at the field.
Every time you move, there's a car behind you.
Yes. Already get ran over, bro.
All right, so let's go ahead and
Hey, Dallas.
this guy.
There's Dallas.
That's the most beautiful man in baseball right there.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, okay, so Dallas, you know Erich, right? You know, obviously you know Carlos. I want to introduce you to John Moscot, who's our blast rep for CBA, who's kind of helping us along through, you know, with using.
Dallas, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Carlos.
And then we have Martinez, who's out of Orlando. So we have these guys that are from all over. You know, we have a bunch of players that are logging in right now. And I kind of just want to get started. So if we get going, I mean, first, you know, I don't know if Dallas and Vic, you heard, we're going to get started with John just kind of explaining really how for our guys the best to use the product. We do have guys with the ability. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn these. I'm going to mute all the participants. There's got to be an easy way to do that, right? Mute.
Yes,
Yeah,
you can do it.
You can mute everybody.
I don't want to mute the panelists. I just want to mute the participants. That's what I'm going to do. Mute. And then at some point we're going to go and do a Q&A with the participants, with John or with us. Okay. And let's see here. And we're going to let John kind of get out of here after he's done explaining how to best use this stuff and how we can apply it as coaches. And then we're going to go into the mental side of hitting a little bit more. And then I would really love feedback from you guys because, you know, Tim, you know, obviously Dallas and Carlos and Erich, you guys have a wealth of knowledge. And if you're here, thanks for taking the time to be here. John, thanks for taking the time to be here. Obviously, you know. So just to kind of go through the guide, if the players out there can pull that up and the coaches, if you guys can pull that up as well so we can kind of follow along the best we can because I'd like to be done with this by 5 o'clock, no later than 5. Okay. And so this is just so that we can just kind of get in, get out, get the work done, and then move on. You know, so if you look at the first page of the guide, you know, it's regarding, you know, it's just basically three different bullet points, right? So we have getting the most out of the sensor and understanding the swing reports and what those really are. John's going to lead us in that. And then the next bullet point after our Q&A with John, we'll go into, you know, this is a self-reflection type thing for the hitters. You know, identifying the type of hitter you are and preparing for battle, just meaning, you know, like, and we touched on it a little bit last week, but now we have some more people here to kind of chime in a little bit and give their 2 cents. And then, you know, what pitchers and catchers are trying to do to get hitters out. It does introduce Carlos Ramirez. Obviously, we have 2 other guys in here, 3 other guys that can really chime in and help with that. So really, John, I mean, just going to the next page, we're just kind of diving right into it. John, you still there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Yeah, so we're just diving right into it. You know, so if we can just kind of go over, you know, basic introduction, because there's a lot of guys that are just getting started with this with us, you know, with the swing center and blast motion. And, you know, we're going to use blast as that tool to kind of connect us as coaches to them. So, you know, one, how do players have the best, how can they get the best use out of the product? How can the coaches get the best use out of it? And what can we do to kind of facilitate, you know, good instruction from web-based training? And, you know, how can we, you know, give players more opportunity to improve when they're kind of in isolation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited about being here and being able to explain some stuff to you guys more than just as a blast rep, but like as somebody who really is passionate about, you know, baseball and integrating it with technology and being able to use these new pieces to help players get the most out of their potential. And so like it starts with unwrapping the sensor. Obviously you get the box, you connect it to the app that comes through Swing Center and CBA. And when you do connect it, you throw it onto the barrel, and you make sure, guys, and this is important, that you label the practice that you're doing and you set the level of play. So if you're a youth, you're 11 years old, you throw it on there, you don't want to be graded out as a college hitter, because it's going to tell you that you're lower than you are. And it's going to compare you to college hitters. So it's important to label the level of play for yourselves. And then when you do start practice, and right now with most of us being stuck at home, we're stuck kind of working off the tee or maybe some soft toss, but labeling that so that when you want to go back in the future and revisit the work that you did, you can see and know that it was tee work, because eventually you're going to hit on the field, and those swings do give different results than you'll get on the field. And when you go back into the Blast app and Blast Connect on the computer, you can see that your different swings and different intensity levels and different results based on the setting of swings that you're taking. And so those are two important things before you get started. And then once you start swinging, guys, you're going to get immediate feedback from the Blast sensor that's going to tell you where you're at, right? It's going to compare you to hundreds of thousands of other swings, even millions of swings of kids the same age as you, where you compare on a 20 to 80 scouting scale, and it'll show up in the green, yellow, and red scores that you get in plane, connection, and rotation. Now, plane, connection, and rotation is what Blast measures as your baseline. But if you want to dig deeper, you can open up and look at all of the data and filter through your app, and you can choose, what is it that I want to work on today? I want to only work on my bat speed, or I want to only work on the amount of the efficiency to the baseball, or I want to only work on my rotation. All of those have their own benefits in your swing, and you can spend days, weeks, months working on one of those pieces to get the most out of your body, and then you can move on, or you can switch daily back and forth. And it's up to you guys as players. It's up to your coaches, who would be able to say, hey, today, organization-wide across the country, I want you guys to work on your rotation. This week, we're going to have a rotation week. Whoever has the highest rotation, will win a blast out on the internet saying, hey, great job from DJ in Florida. You did an excellent job with your rotation. You're top of CBA. And that's cool. Not only do you get recognition with your friends, you get recognition through the organization. Just cool incentives for players to be excited about swinging. And I mean, it's so much more than just an incentive to swing, although it's valuable for that. It really does simplify the process of going out to the backyard, taking your swings, and then really understanding, wow, I didn't know that I was tilted too far over with my barrel to start. No matter how many videos I took, I couldn't put that together and realize that that was something that was affecting the rest of my swing. So when you go into Blast, that's why it's so important to be sharing this stuff and recording it with your coaching staff so that they can go in, see the swings that you've taken, labeled with the proper settings, and then also you guys can take video at home that uploads directly to your coaches so that they can draw on that video and then send it back to you, and you can have analysis from your coaching staff while you're at home. So it's really a perfect tool right now while you guys are not able to spend time together, and even in the future, staying engaged while you guys are at home, sending things to your coaching staff, revisiting video from 2 months ago when you were working on something and now you've improved to another level. You can go back and see what your swing looked like. And you have all of this stored in Blast on our Blast Connect website or in your app. So that's kind of an overview of how to use it, and some of the tools that you can have in doing so, some of the reasons to use it, and ways that coaches can share information, and you can share information with your coaches. And so I'm going to scroll down to the player report page, and this is going to get a little bit more in depth into kind of what we're talking about as far as the metrics, right? Like, and I talked briefly about plane, connection, and rotation, and those are all going to come back to essentially, well, plane and connection are really going to come back to consistency. Like, how consistent can we be as hitters in squaring up the baseball optimally, right? And that's hitting 101. How hard can we hit the ball every time? You're not going to get a hit every time. But if you can put the best swing on the baseball and square that ball up to the best of your ability, that's the best that you can do on that pitch in that situation. And the hitters that do it better are the hitters that have higher batting averages and end up going on and continue to play. So how can we put ourselves in the best position consistently to hit? And it starts with you guys getting out in that backyard, working with your coaches, and Blast is just another tool on that road to get you to those positions and let you know faster where you guys are. Day one, I know I need to work on my connection. Well, then your coach sends you drills, or you visit the app and you can go into Blast app and say, what drill do I do for connection? Go to the training center, and there pops up 5-6 drills that you can be doing in your backyard at home to work on your connection. So if you're on the profile page, I'm going to walk through kind of what it talks about and how it condenses down your individual swing, and then how your coaching staff and you would be able to utilize that information and understand it, and then compare it down the road as you continue to play and continue to improve with your swing. So we're looking at Erich Logson's metrics right now, and we start on the left with the power metric, and we're seeing, bat speed of 47.9 player average. Bat speed is really important. Bat speed is going to be a determining factor of how hard you consistently hit the ball. Bat speed will mask some of the inefficiencies in guys' swings. It just will. And it's really just correlated with strength, guys. That's where bat speed comes in. We see the rotation there. The rotation is pretty solid for his age. He's got, let's see here, a maximum of 16.7, an average of 7.7. So you're going to get your average, you're going to get your maximum in bat speed and rotation in the power side. It's going to compare it to MLB guys. It's going to compare it to college guys. And then you'll see that green box is going to be the optimal range that we want to be in. And you're trying to get as much as you can in that range. Now, the wider the variance of these dots, the more spread out that they are, the more inconsistency there is in your swing. And I'm going to always harp back on consistency, because that's what we can control as hitters, is our consistency and how well we repeat our mechanics. And so then moving to the contact metric, it's going to talk about your plane efficiency and your attack angle and give you your average and your max. And for all levels, the attack angle, your goal should be between 5 and 20 degrees. If you're negative attack angle, you're going to hit ground balls. It's physics. It's how it works. And it's a lot harder to lift the ball and hit extra base hits if you're steep attack angle to the baseball. So that's also going to be, you're going to want, and Erich does an excellent job staying in the green there. It's probably about 1,000 swings here that have been graded, and there's a lot of cluster, but that's a pretty good cluster right there. And you can see if he's outside of the green box that his plane efficiency is lower, and plane efficiency is a direct correlator to guys squaring up the ball consistently, and we would like to see guys above 70% in plane efficiency. That's your goal, above 70% there. And we move on to load consistency, and it talks about, where your bat is in relation to your vertical spine angle at the launch phase of the swing. And I like to use that term because it's not where you start, it's where you get to right before you start to bring your knob down into the zone. That's the launch phase of your swing. And vertical bat angle is just where is the bat when you make contact with the ball. That's all that it says. People get caught up with that. It's not that complicated. You guys don't need to worry about that metric at all. It's just a tool for us to then grade out where your swing is in connection, and also in connection at impact, which is where you are when you make contact with the ball and where your body is. Are you too bent over? Are you too straight upright? And then how does your bat relate to your body in that regard? So it's a lot of this stuff. We can get really into it and really in depth and revisit all these things, but it's up to your coaches to work with you guys, and your responsibility is to take the swings so that they can then generate these reports and really give you insights and feedback, and then print these out or send it to you. And then 6 weeks from now, you guys can revisit it and say, wow, I really improved here. Look at my average. It went up 5 miles per hour, or it went up 10 degrees. And
So,
now,
I'm sorry, John. So I just kind of wanted to chime in, like, for like going before we continue to move on with, like, for if you have like how easy is it for like a player to look at these dots and say, okay, like, what drills can I do now to get them in the green box, right? That's essentially what we need to do, right? We need to get all those dots in that little green box in the corner for the power on the power chart, right?
yeah, great question. So it would be as simple as, okay, I'm not in the green box. I look at, let's talk through the power metrics, right? We're not in the green box there. I want to work on my rotation, and in this case, a lot bat speed. We go to the training app in the Blast app, or on the computer on blastconnect.com. We look up drills, and we go to rotation, or we go to bat speed, and then it'll populate with drills that you can do right there in your app or on the computer, and you guys are off to the races doing what you need to do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's really essentially what needs to happen, right? So it's just that process of looking at the chart, simplifying. We got to simplify it for the players, right? So they understand what that chart really means, and then move those blue things into the green thing, you know?
Yeah, and to your point, Joe, is that, even if you don't have this chart, Blast will, on your app or on the computer, either or, it will go and take your numbers, right? So we'll talk about the plane connection rotation, where you get your green, yellow, red scores. And in your lowest score, it will automatically, on the computer or in your app, tell you, these are your scores and this is where you need to work. And then below that, it will show you a list of drills to do to work on that. So it's even easier than going back and forth between this. You have it right in your app or on the computer.
Okay. Yeah, that's really, because I remember the first time you showed me this, and I was just like blown away. Like it looked like it was smart, but I didn't quite.
It looks intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not a scientist, man. This looks like a coronavirus, like how many people died depth chart, but yeah, so for instance, I want to go down to impact position really fast if we can.
Yeah.
Look at that chart. And this player who plays with us, we look at like half of his swings. Every dot's a swing, right? So half of his swings are in the green box, pretty optimal. But the other half, are outside of that range where he wants to be. So there's, it's almost like he's, 50% of the time he's taking a quality swing, 50% of the time it's, it's either half-assed or he's swinging at a bad pitch, or, there's a variable that's not clicking for him, right?
Correct.
So if you're a coach, right? So if you're a coach and all you see is the chart on a hitter here, okay, you don't know the hitter from Adam, you don't know the player, you just all you see is the chart. What would be your assumption of this hitter based on what you see from that impact position chart?
All things aside, I would think that he struggles on the inside fastball, because if you're talking about connection at impact, it means how far over are you tilted with your body, and how much room do your hands have to clear when your body and bat relationship is lower than 90 degrees. So at that low, when we're talking about getting down below, 60 or some at 65, I would say that there's more of a struggle to get the barrel to an inside fastball without hooking that pitch. So then I would go and say, okay, well, if I know that that's probably a place that he struggles to get the hands to, I'm going to take him into the cage, throw a tee out in front of him on the inside part of the plate, and make sure and watch him try to hit that ball up the middle and naturally change his body angle so that he can get there, because you cannot get to that ball and keep it up the middle without adjusting your body angle.
Okay. And so to elaborate on that a little bit more, right, there's a direct correlation between like the load consistency metric from that third chart, right, and the impact position, correct?
Yep.
So if you look at the load consistency metric, right, the majority of his swings look like they're, he's in that right
Zone.
yeah, right, exactly. So he's in this, he's loading and he's in a strong position to hit, right? So you could kind of use both of those parts together to either figure out like one, like you said, like he's having a hard time with the inside pitch. Let's do some drills to kind of help him catch up to that. Or from an approach standpoint, which we'll get into later, from an approach standpoint, how about we just lay off the inside pitch? That's something we can do, right? Or as well, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different variables, right? Like with Blast, all we're doing is telling you.
Right.
We're telling you what it is that's going on. And then it's up to the player and the coach to make the proper adjustments. We'll offer some of the tools with drills, but really, like, this is where the coaching side comes in. And this is where, like, the player communicating with their coaches, if they're uncomfortable or if they feel like something is not working, it's very important that they're communicative with their coaching staff, and the coaches also, use this in a way that it's not the end all be all. By no means is this data the end all be all, right? I don't think that anything is that way. I think it's a tool that can be used to really help guys if used properly. But, if abused or if overdone and players are just zoned in on one thing too much, then it could be used the wrong way. So it's important to kind of have a happy medium there between, utilizing it in a way that makes sense, and then also not having fun with it and understanding it, but not getting so caught up in one thing that it's the end of the world. And like you said, it could be meaning, hey, let's just lay off the inside fastball.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's really what it comes down to. It's like understanding, I think, as a hitter, right? Good pitching is always going to be good hitting, right? At the end of the day, if a well-executed pitch takes place, it's going to be really hard to hit. You can get lucky, but a lot of the time, as it's hard for pitchers to consistently execute the pitch they want to execute. And, but if they do, they're going to find those holes in the swing. And to me, there's always going to be an imperfection somewhere for a hitter physically, right?
Without a doubt, yeah.
If we can figure out like what that scouting report is on that hitter and execute that pitch on the hitter so that they can't, you're basically untouchable if you do that, then you're going to win every time. But, executing the pitch it's hard, man. It's hard to do over and over and over and over and over again. So trying to get our guys to understand that, there's a physical aspect to this, and this is a very, very good tool to help optimize, your swing and optimize the mechanical part of it. But you got to be able to get the whole gamut covered, right? So the mental side of this is just as important, right? So, but I do want to be able to utilize this tool with our guys, as much as we can, the best that we can, right? Because obviously the better the swing you have, the more, the easier it is to fine tune your approach. I think this is a great solution for our guys. And not only that, for us to just stay connected with them to see, one, what their workload is, and even if they're even getting their work done. You can give them homework, right, which we've started to do. You can give them, something to work on. You can give them, there's always going to be something where we can interact with them using this tool, and seeing like Logsdon put in at least 1,000 swings for this, to have these charts generated last month during the swings challenge. So it definitely helps us, I think, from a coach standpoint for the players that are on here. If as coaches, as we begin to understand what these charts mean, we can now talk to you guys on how to better improve your workload, right? We can now tell you, hey, like we just went over now with the, how the load consistency metric chart and the contact metric chart, how they relate to each other, and, how we can make adjustments, whether it's on our swing or in our approaches based on what those dots in that green box really is, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, like the panelists who are the coaches, right? The college guys, and then Tim, One of our CBA guys. Do you guys have anything to ask about what these reports are, or about the sensor itself? Anybody?
I mean, I use it for different things as well as this. I mean, for me, like, I love to be able to see swing path. And so, like, I'll generate that computer figure of my hitter, and I can actually rotate that image and look to see if the batter actually has a loop in his swing, look to see if he's overlaying that bat too much, look to see if he's actually getting some separation and load. I mean, that's just, in addition to this, that's one of the things I really like about the sensor, is that it gives me that feedback. Like, I could really study the batter's path into the baseball. But I love the impact position because, I mean, to me, that's really important. A lot of guys start different, but if you end up right, you can compare a lot of major league hitters and, the difference between Mike Trout and Cody Bellinger, and how they start, but when they get into launch and where they're at impact is very similar, and so it's really interesting here to see all of Erich's swings and his only deficiency based on these reports, in my opinion, is power. Everything else looks pretty good. His load consistency is a little bit spread out. It's not as dense as the contact and the impact, but I mean, overall, I didn't realize that the green boxes were the ideal area to be in. I don't know if I noticed that before when I looked at it, but is that new by chance?
So this whole thing is new, pretty much. Yeah. So you probably haven't even really taken.
Yeah, I like this. This is really helpful.
Yeah. No. So.
Yeah. And to your point.
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I mean, I'm not going to interrupt anyone, but to your point, Tim, you ask 10 different college coaches or 10 different coaches how they use it, and they're going to tell you that they value something different. I was talking to 4 Division I's last week, and they're saying that, they value one thing, somebody else values something else. And like, it's just cool to hear that, you value that 3D swing, and, you can see it because everyone has their own coaching style and find what's important. And I think that that's unique about this, right? Like, everybody can use it to their own advantage and turn it in their own coaching style.
Exactly. I mean, I could see if a player consistently gets his hands to the outside of the baseball, or if he stays in with it. I mean,
Right.
that feedback right there for me is huge. I love that. But this is great, man. I'm excited to utilize this.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's John just introduced this to me maybe about a month ago now, and it's like, I've had to really kind of look at it to figure out, okay, like, how do I get creative with applying drills to improve? And not just, Blast offers through their app some very good tools for drills, right? But then also, as a hitting guy, like, what else can we add in there? So that's where, as coaches, you can get really creative with how you want to apply this. I know, like, the guys at HPU, right? Carlos, Dallas, right? You guys have used Blast a little bit over this last shortened season this year. Like, what have you found to be useful, when you guys interact with Blast with your players at HPU?
Go ahead, Carlos.
Well, basically, what we try to look for, of course, the 3D graphic is always, it shows you the complete swing. It even shows you, I guess, if correct me if I'm wrong, but it even shows you the hand cast. We kind of really, really big on the hand cast.
Yep.
Where the hands is going to move before we start the swing.
Yes.
Whether it's going to be collapsing, whether it's going to be a little bit on top of the ball, whether it's going to kind of hook the ball a little bit. So we look at that. These metrics, I have never looked at it before, to be honest with you. That's something very, very new to me, and to me it looks really, really interesting. I will have to look into it a little bit more. But going back to the what we look for, really, it's how the swing is going to progress, from point A to point B. How he's going to, whether the bat path is going to be where we want it to be, whether you want to be a guy that is going to, kind of hit it up a little bit, hook it up a little bit, or they're going to be a guy that is going to, you're going to have a little bit more flight on the ball, a little bit of backspin and all that stuff. So to us, those are the stuff that is really, really important for us.
Yeah, and like John said, like this is really new. Like, so these charts are new. This formula they put together to help us, get these player reports is new. I find it to be useful.
Yeah,
I do, and especially like in the situation we're in, where guys, if they are at home getting work in, I just want them to start having a plan with their work, so it's not just, like this is not, now we're in an era where like web-based training is becoming a much more viable option for guys, just because, we're not even supposed to leave our houses. You guys are all look like you guys are following the rules, but like that's this is,
and this is all based on of course, how, you want to try to practice that kid and put him on a sensor and kind of realize, okay, here's my here's this guy's weakness. Let me read, that weakness, see what we can fix, see what hand movement does, what the barrel does, it's a lot of good stuff, coming out of this. But basically that's what we look. I mean, Dallas, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
yeah, I think for us, it's so new, so we're trying to really learn about it, and not only learn about it, but find ways to utilize it in the minimal amount of time that we have, So I think that's the reason why I'm on this. I want to learn more about it and learn all these terms and be able that I know how to utilize it with our guys, because I think a lot of the programs or a lot of coaches that I've spoken to, regardless of the level, everybody's using it, and everybody's seen some sort of improvement in their guys with it. So I think it's only right that we hop on the train and start learning, because at the end of the day, it's going to make the players better, right? Which is what we all want.
Yeah, and I think, guys, that's awesome. Like, I'd love to hear from you guys. This is really cool. By no means does it take away individual coaching styles either. Like, it is you guys, Carlos, what you just said is exactly what I said in plain, right? Like, it's exactly the same thing. It's just a different terminology. And that's the cool part is like, it's unifying the terminology so that when you go to your players day one and then year 4, or they go on to the minor leagues and continue their careers, or they come in through CBA, like they already know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And like, they're like, oh yeah, I got to work on that. It's like, maybe it's a little bit different terminology, but it is cool in that regard, where you guys are saying the same thing, but it's just maybe like a different way of saying it.
No doubt. There's a lot of terminologies. Like, yesterday I was looking a little bit into driveline, and for the pitchers, and basically the same the same stuff that they use is the same stuff that I used back in 1987 when I was pitching. It's just a different terminology, but the same strength, same exercises, same warm-ups, all that stuff. We just, we never had all that equipment, all that technology to do it, but it's basically the same thing. It just goes into more detail oriented, and you got to catch up with times, of course. You have to, the technology is there, and usually the technology doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. It gives you a little bit more feedback, a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
Allow me to elaborate on that, because I know, John, we're kind of getting to that point where we need to move on a little bit into other stuff. But let me elaborate really fast. And so I was on the horn with Matt Bomeisel this last week, and we were talking about. And then for those of you guys that don't know Matt is he was the original owner of Prospect Wire, and he founded this company called Scoutcast, right? And Scoutcast, basically they're tied in with FlightScope, and they set up flight scopes at these different universities throughout the country. I know San Diego State has one, but like University of Florida, I want to say TCU has one, USD has one, right? And they're acquiring all this player data from in-game in-game play, and they basically use that data and they acquire it for MLB. So they can, and however their scouting departments want to use it in MLB to be able to basically just validate what the scouts are already seeing. So they're using the numbers to validate what their eyes are already telling them. So, and we touched on it a little bit from a performance standpoint, from a development standpoint, that, as coaches, you guys all know baseball. You guys all know hitting, for the most part, except for Carlos. You guys all know hitting, and you guys already can look at a swing and say, oh, there's something not right, or hey, that's a good swing, and so now, like, this is such a good tool for blast motion in the center. It's such a good tool to use this as validation for what you might already know or already see, and so it really helps paint the picture for the player who may not really get what you're interacting with them or how you're communicating with them, but it really gets them to understand from a visual standpoint when they're looking at the app on their phone or they see the charts, or when you give them the feedback, now it's so much more clearer because of that, this validation that you're also receiving from, on your opinion or, your ability to assess a player, right? So that's where I think the most valuable part of this is for coaches and instructors, because this is really going to validate, and it might even tweak your perspective a little bit on, maybe like some things that I knew about hitting may have been wrong, based on what and it makes you think a little bit more on, what is the best way to use this technology and to be able to help the guys hitting become better hitters, So that was my 2 cents. But John, like you have a few more minutes if you'd like, and we can kind of, it looks like Victor Martinez wants to be able to say something. I didn't even realize he was muted. Victor, can you hear okay? Victor, you there?
Hey, you got to unmute.
There he is.
There we go. All right. Hey, I got a quick question for John. I got it. I know the metrics that just came out. I've seen the program before, but I know this is brand new. So this is just part of what the sensor would do automatically with every player, or is it something that we customize? How would that work? How would that work?
Good question, Victor. So basically, every swing is going to pop out, like it's going to give you all the data, right? It's going to give you bat speed. It's going to give you plane efficiency. It's going to give you connection early and impact. It's going to give you your time to contact. You're going to get 10 different numbers, right? And then if you take a video with that, it'll pair the video to that and match it up. So each swing will be connected to that video. But this new player report will, because you have to have you can't run one swing on that. It's only going to plot one plot. You can, but because you want a higher number and you want to have those plots condensed down into the report, you're going to then, in the app, it's for the coaching staff to go in, select the player, and then they will run an Excel report and then copy it and paste it into a player report generator that we've shared with you guys. So it takes about, what would you say, Joe? Maybe a 10, 15 seconds to run one on a guy, 20 seconds?
It takes not maybe a minute, but it takes me time to kind of like figure out what I'm doing,
Yeah, if you want to change the name and whatever, a minute, a couple minutes, and then, if you've got, you can run that, set a deadline every 3 weeks. We're going to run it and just see how much progress we've made, or whatever it is that you guys want to do as an organization, and then you can kind of go back and revisit the improvements that you've made over the course of time.
Gotcha. Sounds good. I guess I'm going to talk to you tomorrow anyway. I'll have more questions for you tomorrow.
All right.
Awesome. Hey, but if you have them now, now's a really good time to a lot of these guys.
Well, I tell you what, I got 47 kids right now in the program and growing. So one of the things that I may want to be looking into is the fact that what I'm running on a high school kid, I'm not going to run probably on a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old. That's the sort of thing. So that way, I mean, even though it might be the same metrics, and the 11-year-old might need the same fixing as the 18-year-old guy, but I mean, I don't want to bog down a young one with all that data when I can probably take that same time and just use it. So that's why I was asking about customizing the reports, because I mean, I know for a 12, 13-year-old kid, I can probably take some fixing and I know what to do with it. But then of course, when it gets a little more high in the higher level, I mean, and even some of the college guys that come down, I mean, when they come down, as they leave and come down, I mean, I want to make sure that I'm actually speaking the same language that they're speaking at the college level. Basically, I mean, point of contact, back speed. So that way I can customize it for those guys versus, you know, the 12, 13-year-old kid that might not need all that data.
Yeah, and Victor, great point. Like, you don't need to give them all the data, right? Those guys, those are the kids that they'll look at the green, yellow, and red and be excited to swing because they want to get all green.
That's right.
And then the guys that are in high school and they're in college, those are the guys that are really going to use this data to be like, hey, if I want to get drafted or if I want to go play at a Division I or Division II or somewhere, like, you know, this is the number that I need to fix to get there, right? And then if you do that, like, your swing is going to be more efficient. I can't guarantee that you're going to get that deal or the scholarship, but I can guarantee that if you can get your numbers into more optimal ranges, you're going to be a better hitter. And
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, Victor. Thanks for joining us. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm still trying to figure out how to unmute some of you guys, but if you do, I guess you could raise your hand on this thing somehow. And so, if you have questions, players, Carlos, you have a question? No, you raised your hand, so I saw your hand. Anybody? Okay.
We got somebody there.
Somebody's echoing. All right, so John.
Can you also send a message on the chat, and we can all see it if they don't want to actually talk.
Yeah, they could do that, and players are more than welcome. What I'm going to do is I want to take a screenshot of you guys so I could see so I could save you and frame you and put you next to my bed. I don't want all you guys, though. I don't. Like Easton Andrews. I
might keep you up at night. I don't know what that.
It might, but that's why you're not even using your video, so I'm good.
No, my camera would work. I don't know why. It's being dumb.
It's okay. We'll leave your name there.
That works.
Here, Jordan. Sorry, Jordan Treadwell. You're not very good looking. You're off. Let's see here. Disable. There's a lot of you guys on here. So, John, like in closing, do you have anything else you'd like to just kind of say something?
I mean, I kind of talked through everything. I just want to say thanks for having me on. I mean, it's cool to be with you guys. You know, you guys do it the right way. It's great to be partnered with you. We're excited for CBA and what you guys are doing. And you know, I joined on with Blast because I really was, you know, I was a pitcher, so like, you know, me talking about hitting is kind of crazy actually, but like, I really love that this technology affords, you know, the ability to just objectively view something and say, okay, like now I can see if I got better. And that's what I find is valuable. I really like that. And, you know, it's cool to hear how many different ways this can be used by so many different people. And I love it. So I think we have a question from
Yeah, you got a question there.
From Taylor?
Trey
Yeah.
Taylor.
It says, can anyone, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see that?
Yeah. So he said,
perfect. I don't need to say it.
So Trey asked, can anyone have access to these new player swing profile reports or just coaches? It's just the coaches. If it's their prerogative to share it with their players, they can do that. But right now we've shared it with the coaching staffs, and it's that way. Yeah. So unless you're on in a full team setting, Blast doesn't, you know, there's talk about some integration into the app, but right now it's for the coaching staff.
Yeah. So that's a good question, okay. Let's see here. that everybody? I mean, how do I get this guy off? Disable talking. All right, you guys ready for a selfie? Or I don't know, do we call this selfies? Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, sweet. I appreciate it, John. You're welcome to stay on if you'd like. Again, we're a little bit over the time, so I'd like to kind of keep the rest of this not too short. I still want to get detailed on this, but again, John, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm gonna hop. I got a couple of phone calls I got to make, but appreciate you guys and thanks for everything.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
We'll see you later.
Thanks.
Okay, so John's gone. All right, so moving on, guys. I know the hitters here. This is meant to be something to help us get better, but I also wanted to introduce how we can better use this type of. It's pretty innovative, right? It's new stuff, and we have to get creative as coaches to figure out how we can teach, getting better or help guys make adjustments. That was something I feel that was necessary to have John on, and he'll probably be on again so we can review. And as they come out with new things, and we can start implementing that as well. I really want to use these workshops more so from the mental side, so that we can maybe all get on the same page as coaches to figure out what is the best way to hold hitters accountable for what they're able to control, right? And for the hitters, what can you control, right? And how we can stay away from the stuff we can't control. So, like, for instance, John was talking about how, like, at impact position for Erich Logston, this player right here in that chart, that he has trouble, sitting on the inside pitch and hitting the inside pitch based on what that chart is outlining. So, for me, like, the simple adjustment is, well, just don't stay. If everything else is good,
We'll swing at those pitches.
swing at those pitches, until 2 strikes and maybe put it in play. But the same thing I tell hitters all the time, even at the college level, right? If pitchers find a way to execute pitches in, right, it's really hard to hit anyways. Erich, I know you're here for the ride, but at your guys' level, is it something where pitchers, just what I've seen as a player and as a coach, right? Most of the pitchers aren't inside anyways, right?
Yeah. I think that's our pitching approach. When you got better hitters in the middle of the lineup, big, long lever guys, you try and crowd them and make them uncomfortable. And if you can get in there, we've done it with lower velocity guys and certainly the higher velocity guys. But I think once you get a guy to cheat to that inner half, you open up a lot of options to get outs later on.
Yeah, so if you're swinging at that, I feel like, then you're giving a pitcher, right? You're giving a pitcher the ability to command both sides of the plate. But how tough is it for a pitcher to command a fastball inside over and over and over again, I guess is my question.
We call middle fastballs because our guys aren't good enough to locate in and out. I just know they're gonna miss one way or the other. But no, it's hard, and on top of it being executed, the variable becomes now the umpire that's got to approve of that being a ball or strike, and so there's just too many things that go into it, like you said, for it to continually get executed effectively over and over. It's tough to do. So
not just at Hope, but at the college level in general. Okay, if we're looking at percentage of pitches in a zone, right? What would you say the percentage of pitches would be inside compared to outside?
I would say rough estimate, it's got to be probably 75-25, 75 being away, 25 being in.
Yeah,
I think you just got fear with metal bats, with stronger kids, with smaller parks, whatever it might be. It's easier to call the pitch away than it is to go in on a guy.
Yeah, and then if a pitcher misses away on an away pitch, right, the worst thing that happens, a ball, if he misses over the plate away, then it sits middle away, then he drives it still. But, if a pitcher misses in on an inside pitch, right, there's a good chance it hits the batter, okay? Or if he misses over the plate, then it's, if it's a middle of the order guy at the college level, there's a chance that ball leaves the park. So the consequences are greater for a pitcher to miss on an inside pitch than it is on an away pitch. So I always tell my guys, and this is at the youth level or the amateur level, I guess college baseball is amateur baseball, but at the youth level, that if you're getting beat by a fastball middle away or away even, right, especially with 2 strikes, you beat yourself, right? Because if a pitcher puts you in, it's like a tip your cap and walk away type thing, and just give the pitcher credit. I understand there's different philosophies out there. But why not hunt the pitch that is coming is what my question is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I probably, Dallas and Carlos probably talked to this a little bit too, but I mean, I think it could just as simple as, if you're prepared to hit fastballs in, right? I mean, if your timing is for fastball in, you got a better chance of doing it, whether your strong suit is that or not, and so I think just understanding your timing is a big variable to this as well, that I think the blast maybe doesn't necessarily take into account, but can expose something like that where you guys are looking at it and saying, hey, he's struggling on the pitch in. It could just be a lack of understanding of timing.
Right. Yeah, and that raises a good point. So I wanted to move on into the guide where it goes. We go on to page 8, and basically I try to make this as simple as possible so people can understand it all the way down to like if we're talking to an 8-year-old, and what type of hitter are you, right? And as you guys recruit, you guys are looking for middle of the order guys, top of the order guys, contact guys that are going to get on base, guys with a little bit of speed, guys who can hit the ball out of the park, right? And so for the hitters out there, right, the hitters that are listening into this, and as we record this, I know there's going to be some views on the website, but what type of hitter are you? For the hitters that are there, are you a power guy, right? A guy, middle of the order guy that can drive players in, or a contact guy? Are you a guy that just gets on base, can slap the ball around? And what do you think those traits are that define you and put you in the category? And how you prepare?
No, but they can't see me.
And how you prepare, right, is different. Okay, so maybe if I am a power guy, I'm sitting on the inside pitch a bit more, and I'm waving at a pitch outside and swinging through it a little bit more. But if I'm a contact guy and I'm a guy that roughly needs to work a count or see pitches or get on base, that might flip the script a little bit, right? So how do you prepare? How often do you prepare? And how important is visualizing when you do hit? Or visualizing, in your preparation when you hit. So like on the tee, are you just free swinging, or are you visualizing the pitcher's delivery and his motion, and then, tracking the pitch into the hitting zone and then putting the ball in play somewhere in the field? All that stuff plays a role. And to me, visualization is so big. When I had trouble as a hitter, and I would love for you guys to chime in too. I just try to keep this as smooth as possible and fill it in with what I got to say. But when I was struggling as a hitter, it was a lot of times I was struggling with a fastball that started in, right, or a breaking ball that started in. So I would have to visualize a breaking ball basically starting at my face out of the hand, right, as a right-handed hitter. So a right-handed breaking ball that's hitting at my face out of the hand, and then visualize that ball fall into the top of the zone. And the more I visualized that, the easier it became to react in the game to that exact pitch, So as coaches at the college level, and then Tim at the high school level, and Victor, you're all over the map with coaching. And Tony, thanks for joining in. Tony's the head coach at Rancho Cucamonga. Go Cougars! That's
right, baby. Thank you.
Big Tone.
Big Tony. Cougar Canyon. Cougar Fry. So, like, what do you do, like, as coaches? What do you guys teach your guys? If you guys implement visualization at all, but to cover those 4 things, what do you guys do to kind of touch on those things with your guys, and in a student of the game setting? Not necessarily when you're just hitting in the cage, but just when you're talking hitting with your guys.
Well, first is for them to recognize the type of hitter that they are, and to be honest with themselves. For instance, you got a guy that's a shortstop that's 5'4", and he's sitting there trying to pull a ball over the left field fence. I'm like, is that really the kind of hitter that you should be? Well, he's like, no, coach, I should probably drive the ball up the middle. And I'm like, probably. You'll probably have better success that way. But are you better at hitting the ball middle in or middle away? Well, I'm probably better middle away. All right. So early in counts, why don't you look for that ball middle away, early in counts? And then once we get late in our counts, then we adjust. And so I try to get my hitters to understand where they're best suited and where they're going to make the best contact on the baseball, and getting them to buy into that. That's the other thing. But I always like to teach my hitters to choose a half and work that early, and then we adjust later in counts.
Is there ever a time where you choose the half for them?
Yes. Yes. Like I had a kid that just, we have a short porch at South, so it's like kids just have this fantasy about, getting the barrel out there and pulling a ball down the left field line, and the wind blows that way. It's 310 feet. It's not very far. I could hit fungos from home plate over like it's nothing. So, guys get this in their head, and they all of a sudden start to pull their shoulder and spin off the zone. And, it just becomes really, really, a bad habit. So it's trying to get them to recognize that inside pitch and to really when to jump on that. So, I am definitely a visualization guy, and a guy that wants my hitter early in counts to pick the half that they're good at and adjust later.
Well, I guess for the Hawaii Pacific guys, what is there anything that you guys do that you think is different to help your guys? Obviously you guys, everybody has their own philosophies and ideas, but what do you guys do with your hitters?
We start off every single day with some sort of breathing and visualization exercise. So we actually chunk out, whether that's a team meeting, whether that's individual work or beginning of practice, even pregame. We'll go for the first 8 to 10 minutes of practice with our breathing and visualization exercises. To kind of continue that, we even go through it. At times we've done it pregame, where we have our whole team out there, grab a bat and actually visualize the starter that we're going to face, based off of a certain scouting report that we have. And for me, we have a great hitting coach at our program, and we've got a great staff. And I think my portion of this as the head coach is to make sure that our players are there mentally. So that's my main focus. So the way that I try to do that, I try to lock guys in with our visualization and our breathing portion.
And do you mind sharing with us some of those techniques that you may use from a visualization and breathing technique?
Yeah. We basically, we do the first minute of our entire visualization portion is we do a quick body scan. So it's basic meditation style, which once you get past a little bit of, goofiness about it, and your players can kind of lock down on it, I think it's really helpful for them and really beneficial. We do a quick body scan, and then what we do from there is we actually pull out the scouting report, and we'll go through different sequences. So we have a chart depending, 1-1 count. Here's a breaking ball. Let's see if we can visualize a breaking ball here. Here's 0-2 count, usually breaking ball away. Let's take a breaking ball down. So we go through different things like that, whether that's swings, whether that's takes, and whether that's different approaches.
All right. So like to move on to the next page. I know we're just a little bit behind schedule, but thanks for staying with us. And then I wanted to talking to Carlos about this. It was yesterday, or the day before, about basically how do I believe as a hitter and vice versa as a pitcher, you got to know what the other guy's trying to do to you, right? So if I'm a hitter, what is a pitching coach? What's a pitcher? What are catchers who are paying attention, at the high end level, not necessarily at the high end, like high school level, but just like the elite level where pitchers execute pitches more. How do high end pitchers prepare to get you out, right? How do catchers, pitchers, and coaches work together to disrupt comfortability or timing in the box? And are you able to accept the holes that you have in your swing, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier, and find ways to work around them so you can still find success, regardless of those holes in your swing. For instance, when I was at my best as a hitter, right, and I just tell you my experience, right? If a lefty pitcher came in with a slider right, that bounced in front of my back foot, 3 pitches in a row, I'm striking out. I'm swinging through all 3 sliders because it's such a well executed pitch for me, right, and my hand path, right, that and the way I see the pitch, that it looks like a fastball in the zone, but it's not. It's obviously going to bounce. I think, and then you swing through. I walk back to the dugout, right? So when that happened, right, I had to learn to accept that because I didn't want to tweak my swing and my approach based on those well executed pitches just to hit that pitch, right? Now, if that pitch, bounced a foot in front of my back, or a foot and a half in front of my back foot instead of right at my back foot, right? Then I probably lay off of it. I take the pitch, right? If it bounces too far behind me, right, then I probably take the pitch. If it is a fastball or it doesn't bounce at all, right, then I'm hitting the ball hard, right? So now you're telling the pitcher, right, he's got to thread that needle. Okay, he's got to make that pitch over and over and over again. But if he doesn't, then it's still going to get hit, or it's not going to be a well executed pitch, and it's a good chance I take that pitch. Now, for you guys as coaches and how you teach hitting or how you instruct hitting, or hawk hitting, I should say, what are the points there you have for those 3 things?
Well, basically what you want to do is, and I think Erich, said it at first, was, establish your pitches, early in the count, and you as a catcher, as a pitcher, you want to get that, you want to, the earlier you get, you get that hitter on the count, on strike, then you can actually move around a little bit, whether it's going to be, whether you want to try to go outside or whether you want to try to go inside, a curveball down in the dirt, even elevating. Now, we found out throughout the years, now elevation on the pitches, are really, 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 it's a very interesting point because the hitters tend to miss on an elevated fastball, and understand that, there's no more of, okay, I'm going to try to get under, I'm going to try to hit it out, whatever the case is. But on the catcher's standpoint, you want to try to, if you throw a pitch, you as a pitcher, you throw the first pitch, the hitter freezes and he doesn't swing. I'm repeating the same pitch. I'm repeating the same pitch. And then once we establish that, then we can actually pitch around a little bit, whether, now, understand that also we already seen the scouting report on these guys. Right. So if we don't have a scouting report on these guys, well, we're going to establish that, kind of work around, see what this guy does. Usually the hitters are usually really, really good on the first at bats. And then after that, we kind of learn a little bit more from the hitters as the game goes along.
Yeah.
And remember, our job is to, our job is not to try to strike everybody out. Not everybody can strike everybody out, depending on the situation. My job is to get out of the inning with the least pitches possible. Try to make that hitter miss, hit a grounder, get us out of the inning and go back again and regroup.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of simplifying it. If we, like you guys, like Dallas is a catcher, right? Carlos was a catcher. Erich, were you
left-handed?
Not a catcher?
No. No, I pitched.
Yeah. So, but hearing it from a catcher's and pitcher's perspective, right? And I remember, Tony Gwynn was one who told me, if you can understand what a pitcher's trying to do to you, right? You could better, one, influence the pitch coming up, or you can expect the pitch, right, a little bit more. So if you know what pitch is coming, you can learn how to hit it, right? And so that's what I kind of wanted to. I didn't mean for us to spend so much time on the sensor and the metrics and all that. I want to spend more time on constructive stuff for our guys to take home, and they can really look in the mirror and look at themselves and have an accurate assessment of what kind of hitter they are and who they want to be. So looking at it from different perspectives, and I understand, like, why pitching coaches at the college level call pitches a lot of the time, because a lot of times catchers have no idea what's going on, and so but then I also understand why at the big league level, or the professional level, the catchers will call the pitches more often, because they're seeing things a whole lot better than what's being seen in the dugout. And obviously pitchers at that level and catchers at that level, they're extremely good students of the game. So it's different, So, from the catching stand, I mean, let's say you're catching in a game, Dallas, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a soft lefty, not Erich threw cheese, but a soft lefty, right? Not even knowing what type of hitters are in the other lineup, okay? If you had to, and I want to leave this discussion with like the most simple, like black and white, kind of solution for guys to kind of work with. Are you pitching in or out? And I know there's other variables that go into this. Are you pitching in or out?
Out.
Out. Okay. And and I guess, I mean, I share in that, but I mean, there are other ways to look at this. If he has a good breaking ball, if he has a good changeup, if he can load up and in, which makes it harder for guys to get the bat around. But why out?
For one, he's a lefty, so his ball will probably run away from righties, which is really nice. And when velo's down, I mean, you're just trying to force weak contact, and I think the best way to force weak contact is to pitch out, pitch away.
So, I guess Erich, I mean, you were a mid-90s guy, but I mean, what do you just with what no scouting report from the other team, because at the travel ball level or the high school level, if there are scouting reports, they're all horseshit. Sorry for my I mean, people who know me, they know me, but if that's all you got to work with, right? And let's say it's a left-handed batter, okay? What are we going with, in or out? Live?
Me? Oh, I thought you were talking to Dal still. I think probably the same. I mean, he's got rational thought process behind it, and if the pitcher can execute it, what's the point? I mean, there's no harm to it. So, probably staying away.
Okay. Now, different scenario. Okay.
Hey, understand also the not every pitcher is the same. Some guys are really. It depends on the pitcher as well. I mean, if the kid can be actually soft or can actually get it in there and actually work both sides of the plate.
Yeah. No, so what I want to do is I want to provide a clear, understanding of what hitters are to expect as often as they can when they get in the box, right? Because this is the hitting.
I think a lot of pitchers tell you, Joe, early in the game too, especially. I mean, I think if you sit down as a hitter and you watch the first time a pitcher gets a runner in scoring position, and you really bear down on what he throws. What's the first pitch he throws? What's he try and throw when he gets 2 strikes? What's he throwing? He's behind in counts. They're going to tell you what they want to throw. Whether it's behind in counts, I'm going to cross count with changeups. Well, that guy's telling you he's not real confident with the fastball probably. If he's trying to put you away early with a breaking ball to get you to roll over, I think if you really have an idea, if you really want to have an idea of what pitchers are trying to do, you watch when they pitch with runners in scoring position. They're going to give you an idea of what types of pitches you're going to see throughout the course of an at bat, and that's why it's so critical. You guys talked about visualization and all this. It's so critical to be locked in when you're in the dugout and paying attention and taking your teammates at bats, so you can really truly understand what pitchers are trying to execute, because there's only so many pitches and so many locations you can throw it. You can't get overly cute with it. So if you watch when they're in high pressure situations, they're telling you what they can do.
Right. No, I agree. That requires guys to watch the game. for our young players, we get in the dugout and there's a lot of grab ass going on, and I'm all for hey, having fun and talking shit and hanging out in the dugout. And, baseball should be fun, but that being able to watch that, watching, we talked about this on last week's workshop, how often you need to watch the guy on the mound, because you can see him before the game. He's going to tell you a lot. You can see him when he's warming up before the first pitch of the game on the mound, on the field, right? And you can get a lot. If you're not a leadoff batter, you can see how he's pitching the guys in front of you. You can see if his secondary pitches are working or not, right? And if the secondary pitches aren't working, then he doesn't have the confidence to throw them. So you sit on the fastball a whole lot more, and maybe you can cheat a little bit more to the fastball if he's got velo. And I had a good hitting coach tell me a long time ago that when you're on deck, that's like your last chance to get ready for your at bat, not your first chance. And so a lot of young hitters, they think, oh shoot, and we had a guys kind of hitters from last week chime in, and they thought that was their first chance. When they're on deck, that's when they get ready to hit. So it's just kind of like an eye opener for a lot of those guys, I think, because they didn't realize how much more homework they can do before they get in the box, right? That's that's just kind of a little bit of a tangent that we went on, but I think it's all good stuff. If you watch the game, right, things are different, right? Those variables, you could pick up on them a little bit more, but more often than not, kids, because this is who this is targeting for the most part, it's not easy for them to pick up on those variables. So I just want to give them something easy to work with, so they go home and they can build off of that, right? So for that, the guy in the chart, Erich Logsden, laying off that inside pitch might be a great idea for him, right? And he'll have more success. Not missing the middle away pitch is a great idea for him, and he'll have more success. So Carlos, you're 100% right. There's so many variables, but I want to try to take those variables out and provide it the best way for guys to do work on their own and visualize a specific pitch in a specific zone and not miss that going forward.
Well, some of those, one suggestion, every hitter should know by now, the high school hitters should know by now which pitch, they're actually more comfortable with. And I think Tim, emphasized that, earlier. But, you have to understand as a hitter, which pitch you're more comfortable with. And early in the count, it's a great idea to, look for that pitch. You try to look for that pitch, and then, when you have 2 strikes, it's a little bit different. Now you become a little bit more on the defensive mode, trying to force contact and so on and so on. But it's always a really, really good idea to watch that kid, what he pitches, what he has done throughout the game, what he has done on the bullpen when he's warming up, all that stuff is always good.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to teach your guys to do. But I mean, high school hitters should know that, but I'm going to tell you right now, most of them don't, and that's where we're, and if they do know that, and this is something that happens all the time, man. Like, so we're teaching guys that, hit the fastball middle away, and they're thinking, through the delivery, away, and then they think, what if he comes in, right, for a split second, right? What if he comes in and this is the pitch right now, I can hit it out of the park, and for a split second, that discipline goes out the window, right? And then they swing through a pitch away or a breaking ball that they don't sit back on, and then they don't even realize that their discipline went out the window because it happened so quick. Because then they go back to what their thought process was for the 15 seconds prior to release point, and they think, I was sitting on that fastball away. But then, they're that what if hitter where at release point, their discipline is gone, and they're thinking home run or double off the ball into the left center field gap, and it doesn't work out for them, right? So a lot of times they don't even realize that they lose discipline in that moment, but they'll tell you in a conversation, yeah, I was sitting away. I was sitting on that fastball away, and then I pulled off out of the hand and nothing, I swung through it, so now the coach's tendency is to say, okay, well, there's a mechanical flaw. No, there's not. There's a discipline problem. There's a being able to see the pitch a little bit further problem, not necessarily a mechanical flaw, but a timing and a discipline issue. So that's kind of what I wanted to. I mean, we're about 15 minutes past the time. If anybody's got anything else to touch on, I'm going to try to unmute everybody and to see if there's something that guys want to say on this webinar or meeting or whatever we want to call it. But I'm going to unmute these guys and see if they want to say something.
Hey Joe, one thing that we cover in our practices is actually for the guys stepping into the box with a plan in mind. As a hitter, you can't just go there just swing. I mean, you have to have a plan in mind. So we kind of travel that path for a good portion of our practices when we explain to the guys, okay, what pitch are you looking for? And then of course when we have regular, we don't call it BP, we do hitting practice. They got to actually battle some kind of adversity. So you got a minimum first, 3-2 count. You got to swing. You got to make contact. So we make the batter uncomfortable because that's the situation that they got to be in. So that way we get the mental side of it also preparing as well as the physical side. Same with the pitchers. I mean, even in the bullpen, we make them uncomfortable. You got to throw X amount of strikes. You got 3 men on, and you coming in relief. So how you gonna get us out of here? So in the hitting side, we actually work with the kids a lot with, okay, you're coming into the plate, you saw what the guy's doing. Now what pitch are you looking to swing? What pitch you looking to make contact? What pitch you looking to hit that you're gonna beat the infield? And that's another thing. So that's also something that we work on quite a bit actually.
Well, I mean, that's something. I think the mental aspect of this is so much more important, especially now that we have limited physical resources to be able to get with these guys. They can't get in the cage. They can't get in the bullpen team setting. The best thing I think we can do is help improve these guys' mindsets and provide those resources in a way where they're, they're motivated to get that work in. So I think, Victor, that you guys do a really great job over there. Because Tim said it. I think I spoke to him yesterday, and the key word is you care about your guys, you care about the players. That's when you're going to start paying attention to these little minute details. And you can see it. You can see when coaches are in this for the right reasons, and you can see when players are buying in and when they're not. If there's a disconnect somewhere, there's got to be an adjustment made. But 100% correct. And that's why we want to hold these workshops as often as we can, probably on a weekly basis. As we get more players involved, we might host it as a youth workshop only or a high school workshop only. We have pro guys that have started to join in with us on the platform, and that might get a little bit more rigorous, for a lack of a better term. But it's something where any hitter of any competitive level, they're going to benefit, because we're going to discuss basically go back to basics, and then we're going to build off of that and just talk about different hitting techniques or visualization techniques or drills that we can implement and add in guys that need those types of solutions. So, in closing, do any of you guys have anything else going on that you guys want to say or talk about? Or
one thing for me is especially now with the limited access for players, and I know all you coaches have seen the same thing. Behind my dugout, you see we have tee stations. Well, I'll see a player just put a tee right down there, right in the middle of the plate, and just take swings. It's there's no thought process behind it. They're not moving the tee. They're not working on the away pitch. They're not working on the in pitch. I would definitely recommend, and I do to my players, is that, take 5 hacks here, move the tee, take 5 hacks there, move the tee, but visualize that pitch coming to you every time. Because if you're just taking hacks off the tee, you're not really working. You're just killing time. That's all.
I agree with you, Tim, on that one. For 100%.
You have to move that tee around, and that's, for me, it's really important. I'm sure you guys have had players where you just see them, they just take hacks off the tee, right in the middle of the plate. Hey, you know what? It's pretty easy for people to hit the ball right in the middle of the plate. Work on the outer and inner half.
Yeah. And so I'm going to type in right here to see if anybody has any questions. Players, if you're unmuted, then you can ask him. If you're not unmuted, then you're gonna have to ask him in this chat bar down at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, just to close with that and to see, I mean, you're gonna ask some of these college guys. You're gonna ask him. I don't even know if there's any violations taking place, but I mean, who cares? So, that's all I got. That's all I got for you guys. Unless, I mean, Carlos, we're gonna have to. I talked to Dallas on the podcast the other day, and we talked about how to translate for you. So
the what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
We're gonna have to translate for you. Don't talk to me like you don't understand what I'm saying.
you were breaking up, man. I'm sorry. No, there's a couple drills that they can do at home. Whether it's going to be T in, T out, double T. They can, lower T, high T. High will be the outside. They can set up if somebody's front tossing them. They can do, front tossing, T away. That way they can work both sides of the plate, and they're ready for that. And then some of the kids, everybody's a little bit different. But you should be able to work every single one of those drills. That way it makes you better. Not just get sold on, okay, I'm an inside pitch guy, and I can hammer that inside pitch. I can't hit the outside pitch. Oh, I'm weak on the curveball. Go ahead and set up the tee. You can learn that from the tee, and you can learn that from the front toss as well. There's a lot of drills that you can do. That will help you get better on that. But it depends on what you want to try to achieve. And then every time you're hitting, whether it's going to be at your home, whether it's going to be in front of a screen, or whatever you do, visualize. Okay, inside pitch. You have some situation as well. Situational hitting. That helps you a lot.
Yeah.
You do situational hittings. Okay, I got a runner on second base. I want to try to punch that ball on the right side of the field. That way I can move that run.
Love that.
Whether okay, I'm hitting off the tee, I run on third base. I want to try to put that ball, let me go ahead and put it in play. All that stuff, you can learn, they can do it, but you have to memory. You have to teach yourself. When the time comes, you're ready for that.
And you know what? Maybe next week on next week's workshop, I don't expect you guys all to be back. If you guys want to come on in, you're more than welcome. I'd like to get more of a pitcher's perspective and from the professional standpoint, and getting somebody to kind of chime in on that stuff to talk about, what they want to do to kind of help their guys out a little bit,
He's on.
A bit more. So, all right. So that should be our time. We're about 20 minutes past. Anybody else? Anything at all?
Anybody?
The hitters last week were more talkative. Maybe they just
Easton talks.
sleep. No, but I really appreciate you. Go ahead, Carlos.
Easton Andrews, he always has something to say.
He ain't lying about that.
Easton.
Over Easton. Oh, there you go. He's trying.
I don't have anything to say today.
Hey, Easton's a good ball player.
Howdy, Easton.
Hello.
Howdy doody. Better than us. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. Again, I appreciate all you guys' time. I know you guys have a whole lot to do at home right now. Erich has a new baby in the house, so it's probably time to go back to
Got a good couple diapers to change.
a diaper or two. Yeah. So, congratulations again for the fourth time today. And then
Thanks.
thanks for letting us see your field.
Tony Garcia.
Tony,
What's up, boys?
dude, you're still
Great
here.
to see you all.
You don't have any questions, Tony?
I've been enjoying this. This is pretty cool. What's taking place here? I don't have any questions. Just good comment.
Cougar Pride. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Visualize. Have a plan when you go up to the plate. I would say I would try to, for my guys, stay inside the ball and think think the middle right side to kind of keep back.
As simple as it gets right there. We could have just had like a 10-second webinar and just said that and been done.
Hey, be aware on the inside. You know, spray the field.
Yeah.
Turn on the ball and spray the field the other way when the pitch dictates.
Awesome. No, I really thanks for your time, guys. We'll sign off now. I'll reach out to you guys personally and just thank you guys personally. But thanks again. All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
Enjoy the
All right,
day.
guys. Stay safe, everyone.
See you guys. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Take care. Stay safe.